you move back. You're messing with me here.
Keeping you on your toes, Gov.
Exactly. You're
Governor,
the only one.
Governor, can you explain your abrupt change in parks now being open? Is it based on some new data, a recalculation of the existing risk? And how will social distancing be enforced in parks? The Restart and Recovery Commission announced yesterday. Will the members of that commission be paid? And where's that money expected to come from? And Colonel, finally, could you give us some color? What charges were authorized against the organizer of yesterday's protests in Trenton?
Pat, I'll start and then ask you to clean it up if that's okay. The parks, I wouldn't say an abrupt change because these are much more, any decisions we take are much more iterative than they appear in public, and I can appreciate the fact it feels abrupt because yesterday we said they're closed and today we're saying, as of Saturday morning, by the way, that they'll be open. But it is, none of this is abrupt. We are constantly looking at all sides of this. Dustin asked about education and the balance of the school year. That's something we're constantly looking at. We'll have an announcement on one day. And I'd say it's a combination of things. I mentioned this, all the incomings we took didn't impact me a bit one way or the other, literally not one speck, except for the arguments that Judy has spoken eloquently about. We've had other commissioners. The mental health argument did play into this. But I will say this, if the curves that we show you every day were raging up, we would not be doing what we did today, even notwithstanding that mental health argument. There is some amount of reduction in some of the most important curves that we're looking at. Hospitalizations, I think, most importantly. Even though we're not sure what the universe is of folks who have been infected, the positivity rate coming down sort of every single day for the past 7 or 10 days of those who have been tested. Remember, by the way, two things. Remember, they're overwhelmingly symptomatic, and as Ed Lifshitz reminded me, that's the cumulative number. The number in any given day lately in a particular county is meaningfully lower than that. And then thirdly, we're basically saying we're prepared to trust you. You've been trusting us, and we will never forget that. We're returning some amount of that trust by saying, listen, we're going to open these up, but you've got to behave in a certain way. And that is, you can't congregate. You got to keep your distance. And we're not making you, but I'm telling you, I'm strongly recommending you wear face covering. How are we going to enforce it? It's going to be through a variety of different ways. It'll be state park police. It'll be enforced by the county, clearly at the county level. Pat will have groups, as he did in that first weekend in April when it was really good weather and we saw some horrifying results. The parking capacities will be managed locally, as I mentioned, at 50%. And I admit you can't bat 1,000, right? You can't go to every corner of every park with somebody on a one-on-one basis following you around. But we're going to be pretty pervasive. And again, early week, if we don't like what we see over the weekend, I'm not trying to be a jerk about this. If we see congregation of people and they're not social distancing, they're not wearing face masks, we will reconsider. The commission, the members are not paid. So there's no question about where the money's coming from because there is none. And I'm going to turn it to Pat on either the parks or